so yes, we're going to do a book review on Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Now, if you guys follow me, you'll know I've done a book review on Steal Like an Artist, which is another one of his books. And this one sort of goes on from that. I think Steal Like an Artist was the first one. Don't know where it is. Then there's this one. And then there's Keep Going, which we'll do a review on that one later on. Okay, so it's all to do with creative people, creativity. So it's really directed at artists of all kinds, like authors, musicians, anyone who's creative. Hi, Carrie. Oh, hi, Andrea. I'm reading your comment out. Hi, Andrea. So, all right. So let me just get my notes up here. I'm just going to move some screens around a little bit. Yes, I can see that. All right. Luckily, I have a few different browsers on my computer that I can mess around with when things go wrong. I just didn't. I should have done it right at the start, but anyway. Morning, Christy, as well. I finally got on here, so tech problems, but anyway. All right, so today we're going to dive into, like I said, one of my favorite little pep talk books, Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. So this book is sort of like a little pocket-sized friend telling you to stop hiding your talent and actually let people see what you're up to. And it's something I always need a bit of a reminder of as well. You know, people especially won't buy your work if they don't know it's for sale, will they? So also if you've ever felt nervous about sharing your work, or you think you need to wait until you get really like good enough, then this book is also exactly what you need to tell you to get started straight away. Okay, it's about the power of showing your work and letting others see your process. It's a quick read, which is Still Like an Artist, his other book. If you've read that one, you know, it's a good read. It has lots of little quotes and things in there. It's not a hard one. I think you'd probably an hour and a half and you'd have it done. Okay, but it's one of those that you keep sort of coming back to. Oh, you've already got this one, Christy? Yeah, I like the books that are easy to read and are broken up with little quotes and things like that. So the chapters in it, you don't have to be a genius. Think progress, not product. Share something small every day. Open up your cabinet of curiosities. Tell good stories. Teach what you know. Don't turn into human spam. Learn to take a punch, sell out, and stick around. So I'm not going to go through every single one of those, but we're going to have a chat about a few. I'll read some stuff out of here as well. But yeah, definitely the Austin Kleon books are amazing. So, all right, so to start with, he talks about you don't need to be a genius at art. You can be a complete beginner, but sharing your journey is what people are interested in seeing because they can then relate to you. So he talks about rather than a genius, which is a solo sort of person, we should be a scenius, so a scene or a community. So a genius is associated with doing it themselves and has ego involved, where he says a scenius is about working with others, gathering ideas, being inspired, similar to some of the old masters used to work this way in groups rather than by themselves, working together with other artists. So this is sort of directly his idea from his book, Steal Like an Artist. You know, if you've read that one, a lot of that talks about being inspired by others. Okay, and that really helps to grow your creativity. So you don't need to wait until your piece is perfect to share your finished painting. It's about sharing the journey, because people love seeing behind the scenes. They like to see your messy art studio or your color swatches, you know, the oops moments, the mistakes. It makes you real, and real is relatable. Hi, Donna and Judy as well. So you need to be thinking about the process, not the product. Years ago, artists waited until they finished their painting before sharing it with the world. But in the digital era, it's much easier to share small snippets, can't even speak today, small snippets of the process to keep your audience engaged. So take people behind the scenes with you to see what you're doing, how you're gathering your inspiration, you're coming up with your painting ideas, the actual painting process. So depending on where you are in the stage of the painting is what you're going to share about. Okay, so you could, if you haven't started, you could share your reference photo hunt about where you're finding your photos, if you're taking them yourself. A few little snapshots if you've gone to the local park, if you want to paint a flower and your Botanic Gardens has some. So you could share that if you're just at the start and you're not sure what to share. Then maybe if you're doing any sketchbook ideas, planning a composition, that sort of stuff, you could share that. Then, of course, there's the dreadful, ugly stage that no one wants to share, but it's part of the process and it makes it real. I think I get a lot of students that they give up on that ugly stage. So to be able to follow your process and see that it goes from ugly to a great painting in the end really helps them to understand that it's all part of any painting process. And then also your color choices when you're in that painting process as well. And also don't forget ones that share things that are a mistake as well, I suppose, because again, it makes you more relatable. They want to see that you're human and you're not a robot. So you should also try and share something small to the world every day. So Austin says, like, when you go into any of the social media platforms, Facebook says what's on your mind. When you go in to write a comment or not a comment, when you're about to write a post, it asks you what's on your mind to help get you to sort of share. But he says you should think of it more like, what am I working on today? So take that, what's on your mind, and replace it with, what am I working on today? And just think about, it can just be a photo. It can be a very short little snippet. It could even just be an inspirational quote or, anything that you're working on today. And it's just all these little moments that take our viewers behind the scenes, I suppose, and they get to know you better. So he's not saying spend your entire life online. He's saying just create a habit of visibility. So the things, tiny things that count, like I said, a work in progress picture, a palette photo, or in our case, a photo of your pastels that you've got set out, a quote from your sketchbook or a book you're reading, even a thought you've had about the painting you're working on. So another section in the book talks about thinking of this as flow and stock. So flow is the feed. It's the small posts and tweets, the sort of stream of daily updates that remind people that you exist. Stock is the durable stuff. So it's the content you produce. It's still interesting in, say, 2 months or 2 years as it is today. So it's what spreads slowly but surely, builds fans over time. So for an example, as artists, we can share our behind the scenes, our work in progress, our little thoughts about why we create, inspirational quotes, all of that sort of stuff. That's your daily flow. And the stock is our finished piece or a series of painting that we can sell. Or also in my case, it's my membership, the Creative Barn. So the little daily bits are the flow, and the stock is that big piece that you're sort of aiming at. So he gives an example that a lot of ideas in his book started out as tweets, which then became blog posts, which then became book chapters. So you can see they were small little snippets, but it turned into a bigger piece. My daughter actually does a really great job at this. Her Instagram page has nearly 10,000 followers, and she's built that up within the year, because they're traveling Australia with 2 little kids, and she shares daily to her story on her Instagram just about her daily life traveling with kids, like the ups and downs, a lot of storage hacks, things like that. And then once a week, she does a reel that highlights where they've been with beautiful photos and drone footage. And the footage is stunning. And honestly, to look at it, you really appreciate Australia. You know, we have such a beautiful country and so diverse as well. But so her flow is all of the little bits about daily life traveling with kids, but then her main stock is all about like the beautiful places they've been and the things they use. So she gets quite a few companies want her to create posts and reels for their brand. So you know, there's tourism jobs, there's like there's one called muck mat, which is a matting for stairs for when it's all traveling stuff, caravanning stuff. You know, so they're sort of contacting her because they see what a beautiful job she does. So for her fans, they know getting to know her really well and her family and what they do. But the stock side of it is where she's getting the sponsorship and the work coming in from the companies. So, but also think about, you don't have to share every little bit of your life. Think about, you know, you can keep it just business, just your art. You don't have to share all your personal stuff if you don't want to do that. People want to get to know you, but more as the artist, they want to see your personality and stuff, but you don't have to share every little thing if it makes you feel uncomfortable. So just remember, consistency beats the occasional masterpiece post every time. All right, Christy says, someone looked at my Instagram page and said, surely, whoop, that is digitally created, which my friend corrected and said, no, she creates each one. So I think it's important to share work in progress for sure. I need to do it more as I only share finished items. I did have someone tell me to do very manicures posts so the social media page looks cohesive, but I don't think it works sometimes. Yeah, I agree, Christy. Sometimes I look at these Instagram pages and they're beautifully designed and they look amazing. They're very curated, like you said, which is ideal, I suppose, for a gallery looking to maybe look for new artists and stuff like that. But for the people, which you want to like create for your fans, your followers, just to build a community, and they really do want to see your work in progress. And I agree, you could still try and make it quite visually appealing as well, I suppose. But I definitely agree with the whole showing work in progress, because that's how I usually find if someone's putting something up, like in one of the Facebook groups or something like that, and they're saying, oh, I drew this or whatever, and you can tell straight away it's not, it's AI or something's not right with it. The first thing I always ask is, can you share a work in progress? And if they're legit, straight away they've usually got a work in progress. It's something you should always get in the habit of taking photos of your work in progress, just as you're doing it. But if they can't share a work in progress, then you know they're hiding something. So, yeah. Sandra says, my husband and I love following YouTube videos of people traveling around Australia. Oh, okay. You follow the Elnicks and the Cartwrights. What is your daughter's YouTube? They don't do YouTube. They do Instagram, and it's called Rippin' Around Oz. I'll write it in the comments. Rippin' Around Oz. Yeah, YouTube is a huge, that's like a full-time job, creating videos for YouTube. Whereas Instagram, she does a beautiful job, but even just a reel takes a while, but could you imagine trying to create a whole YouTube video? So hats off to those that do. Yeah, because that's a lot of work. But that's the thing, we're trying, for those traveling families that do the YouTubes, that's what they do, that's their job. Okay, but for us, our job is to create artwork. That's what we want to do, essentially, isn't it, all the time? So we don't want this to be, to take over our lives. Okay, and of course, some of you are doing this for a hobby, you're not interested in sharing it, and that is totally fine as well. But for those that do want to, start to build that community around you, then that's what this book is all about. Okay, so then we have, on the same subject of like sharing your work, he talks about open up your cabinet of curiosities. So apparently years and years ago, people had a cabinet of curiosities, and they essentially were just either a room or a cabinet full of things they love. So it could be your shells, your feathers, your favorite books, it could be paintings, things you've collected over time. So they might be a little bit weird to other people, but they're something that you've loved. I have a shelf of curiosities that I've sort of tried to build there. It's only a small shelf. I've got a lot of other things that I collect around, but I think as artists, we probably, or creative people, we like to collect things that we might be wandering along the beach and something just takes our eye and we collect it. So, but these curiosities fill your inspiration and creativity, and it's all you. It's your unique sort of touch on it, because these are things that are, you've grabbed, you've been inspired from. So there's no other influence there at all. There are also things you could share with your audience too, and you'll probably connect with others that like these different things as well. So really, don't be shy about sharing things that you might think are a little bit strange, because there'll be others out there that you'll connect with that actually collect the same things or are interested in the same sort of things as well. Okay, there was this, I want to read a bit out of here. I've just got I've got that many pages marked. All right, so in the book it's got, where do you get your inspiration? What sort of things do you fill your head with? What do you read? Do you subscribe to anything? What sites do you visit on the internet? What music do you listen to? What movies do you see? Do you look at art? What do you collect? What's inside your scrapbook? What do you pin to the corkboard above your desk? What do you stick on your refrigerator? Who's done work that you admire? Who do you steal ideas from? Do you have any heroes? Who do you follow online? Who are the practitioners you look up to in your field? So your influences are all worth sharing because they clue people into who you are and what you do, sometimes even more than your own actual artwork. So, really think about what you love and who you are, and just little snippets of that. Like I say, you don't have to go into every little fine detail of your life, but it's how you'll connect with the right people, and that's sort of what you want, people that enjoy the same things as you do, of course. Okay, and then we go into telling good stories, which we all know is one I talk about a bit. So Austin Kleon talks about becoming better storytellers. So we don't have to write novels. Even simple story arcs make our posts more engaging. Things like before, after, or the problem, the process, and the payoff. Tiny stories make people feel like they're on the journey with you. So there's a couple of little ones I wanted to read in here. Hold on, where is it? This one. Oh my God, I've got marks everywhere. Okay, so this I thought was interesting in the book because it's kind of true. So bear with me because it's a little bit of a read. But close your eyes and imagine you're a wealthy collector who's just entered a gallery in the art museum. On the wall facing you are two gigantic canvases, each more than 10 feet tall. Both paintings depict a harbour at sunset. From across the room, they look identical, the same ships, the same reflections on the water, the same sun at the same stage of setting. You go in for a closer look. You can't find a label or a museum tag anywhere. You become obsessed with the paintings, which you nickname Painting A and Painting B. You spend an hour going back and forth from canvas to canvas, comparing brushstrokes. You can't detect a single difference. Just as you go to fetch a museum guard or someone who can shed light on these mysterious twin masterpieces, the head curator of the museum walks in. You eagerly inquire as to the origins of your new obsessions. The curator tells you that Painting A was painted in the 17th century by a Dutch master. And what of Painting B, you ask? Ah, yes, Painting B, the curator says. That's a forgery. It was copied last week by a graduate student at the local art college. So look up at the paintings. Which canvas looks better now? Which one do you want to take home? So art forgery is a strange phenomenon. You might think that the pleasure you get from a painting depends on its colour, its shape and its pattern, says psychologist Professor Paul Bloom. And if that's right, it shouldn't matter whether it's an original or a forgery. But our brains don't work that way. When shown an object or given a food or shown a face, people's assessment of it, how much they like it, how valuable it is deeply affected by what you tell them about it. That's a really interesting chapter because he does go into some other experiments people have done. So that's sort of showing how important story is to selling a piece, or even just to having interest in it. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure you were the same. I felt it when I read that the two paintings, I instantly went, oh yeah, I'd want the master, like the Dutch master one. I wouldn't want the forgery. But it's so funny, isn't it, that we instantly think that way. So people fall in love with the meaning behind what you make, so not just the end result. So you know, like I could tell them why I painted that particular dingo, or tell them about a reference photo I got by sort of practically lying on the ground at the zoo, so I can talk about how I got the photo. Or maybe the moment a painting finally clicked after I got past that ugly stage, or after I finally finished the fur. I'm working on a dingo at the moment, and the fur, my God. It's getting there, but there's so much of it because it's quite big. But it's starting to click when I don't know if you've done much fur. You first start off building the layers and you're like, oh my God, this doesn't look like fur, it's awful. But then the more you build, the better it gets, and you get to a stage you're like, oh, that's actually working, and it inspires you to keep moving on. But yes, back to when we weave story into your art, you make the audience care. So stories equal connection. Hi, Farley. I'm actually hot in here because I turned the aircon off because it was too noisy. So I'll probably just get redder and redder as we go. All right. So so I wanted to share this picture in here. There's so many good pictures. Hold on, I'm going to make sure you can see. So this is, again, like pictures can say whatever we want them to say. So like there's a triangle there on each one, but as you read through it, you know, a mountain, a shark fin, a stalagmite, a wizard's hat, a tortilla chip. And as you say the names, oh, gone blurry, your mind instantly associates, oh yeah, that looks like a mountain, that looks like a shark fin, that looks like a chip. So it can be, it's a good example that it can be whatever. You know, the word, like the story, really makes people, their brain goes, oh, that's what it is. And I also feel that's where abstracts, because they aren't, there is nothing obvious of what it is in an abstract painting. So they do totally rely on story to sell the work. make people see what they say. So they, you know, if you read the story that goes along with an abstract and you sit back, and then your brain starts to go, oh, actually, I can see that. Whereas before you couldn't. So again, that's how that sort of works. Now, I thought we could go through just very briefly a few ideas of this storytelling put into art. We might do a longer Tuesday chat another time about the whole story arc thing. But in the book as well, it has this little page. And if you look up story arc, if you've done any sort of writing, which I haven't really, but I know roughly about a story arc, because when you're marketing things, if you read a lot of marketing stuff, they talk about story as well. So it always starts off, the characters in a zone of comfort, but they want something. I mean, think of famous, stories like Cinderella, things like that. But usually any movie you can relate this to. So the characters in the comfort zone, but they want something. They then enter unfamiliar situation. They adapt to it. They get what they wanted. They pay a heavy price for it. Then they return back to their familiar situation, but they've changed and they've learnt something from that process. So it's quite interesting, but we can go into that a bit more detail at another time. But these are just some bite-sized storytelling frameworks you could use maybe in a single post or a reel, or just as a caption. So I'll have all this I'll turn this into a blog and it'll be in the membership, so don't stress, you don't need to write any of this down. But so the before, during and after arc, so this is like the world's easiest story structure. So the before was maybe I wasn't sure how my latest dingo piece was going to work. Maybe the sketch looked a bit strange and I couldn't figure out composition. Then during is where you're sort of halfway through, like I was saying with the fur, you think you're at an ugly stage, you're thinking you ruined it, and then suddenly it all clicked, and then the final piece. So you've sort of gone like this. You've started here, you've taken a dive, and then you've come up high at the end. Okay, so like I was saying about the fur before, that's kind of that sort of arc. And people love a transformation. That's what I was saying. Showing people the ugly stage actually can probably be a really good thing. As long as you follow it straight up with the good, like the finished. You don't want to just do a lot of ugly stages because they'll think you can't paint or draw. Okay, then like there's a problem, process and payoff arc. So this one's a good one for teaching and showing your work. So the problem could be, again, the fur was looking flat and dead. The process, so you went back and looked at the values and added more depth to it through your darks and lights. And then the payoff was that it now looks more lifelike. So they can be really short and simple because these are just a single photo post or a carousel or a reel. So what else do I have? There's the behind the scenes, of course. So you could do a setup of everyone you'd see the final artwork, and then you put, but this is what it looked like 2 hours in. So again, you show the ugly stage. And then your punchline could be trust the ugly stage, so little things like that. And then you could talk about why the piece matters. So, I could say, like, with my dingoes, I was on Fraser Island and it was looking straight at the lens coming towards me. And then, why I painted it, why I positioned it like that. A lot about the story of how I feel they're a bit misunderstood over there. And that can relate to people. And, a lot of people know, because I do do quite a few dingoes, and I do share stories about like how I feel they're misunderstood and stuff like that. So I have quite a few people that have their own dingoes actually, or they love dingoes as well that follow me. So when I do paintings of dingoes, they usually sell fairly quickly because I have those followers that have that same interest. Okay. You could share one about a learning moment. So maybe your first layer you put down too dark, or you with pastels you've clogged the paper or something. Then you could sort of show what you learnt about that, and then maybe what you could try next time, sort of thing. So, and then of course your studio life. That's another one. You know, you could just show where you are, like the time. Maybe it's you're a night person, I don't know. It could be 7 p.m. you're in the studio, or you could be an early bird and you're in the studio, and it could just show you adding a few final touches to a painting. And then you could put about how you're feeling at the time, that, you know, especially if you're, you know, late, if you're a night worker or an early morning worker, it's the quiet time, isn't it? Everyone else is sort of gone to bed, or they're still in bed when you're up doing that. And I'm an early bird, so I would prefer to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and spend an hour working on a painting in the studio when it's still cool and it's quiet. You know, nothing else is happening around. So there's all little things like that you can start to think about for sharing posts and sharing your work. So not just, doesn't have to be just a work in progress. You know, like I said, there can be lots of things. Have showed me on the style. I create. Okay, Farley. Thanks, Gina. Good advice. I wanted my art to be perfect before I show it, and then be very selective. I'll take your advice and show the process. Actually, it may help me not to be so hard on yourself, because my art is not perfect. No one's art is perfect. Ask some of the amazing painters, and I don't think any of them would say their art is perfect. We're always learning. And yeah, definitely, I was in that as well, Gina, especially with Instagram. I always struggle with Instagram. Facebook, to me, I can share stories and chat, and I think because I do these lives, my Facebook groups are in, like, they're in Facebook, of course. My membership private groups are Facebook. Everyone shares everything they're working on, what any bargain they've found. Like, they'll share everything. So to me, Facebook is more community building. But I know as artists, Instagram is probably better. So it's good to have both, I suppose. But Instagram, it's like what Christy said. You see these most amazing, beautiful Instagram curated pages, and everything looks amazing. So was the same. I'm always thinking, oh, my Instagram's so messy. And I always feel like I can only post on there the finished piece or something that looks really good. But yeah, I've got to get out of that as well. But I suppose what you could do is like what I was saying, my daughter does. Her Instagram feed is beautiful, but it's her stories that she does all the messy stuff, like, you know, the kids screaming, or the dirty van, or, you know, this and that. So that's where we could really do more of that. Probably I would still do work in progress and finished pieces on the feed, but the posting every day, like in the book says, like, show your work, like the little bits and pieces. I post bits around my farm on my stories, as well as art things. So I think stories is a good place to be just constantly posting each day, just a little snippet of your life, because your followers get to know you. Then the stories go to your followers, the reels go out to everyone. Okay, so you want your stuff on your main feed to be beautiful, but also I would do work in progress in there as well. Maybe your hand, like a half finished eye or something with your hand there, things like that. So try and take some great photos. And once they see those and they want to follow you from your work, then they start to get to know you through your stories. Okay, and they get to know your personality then. Okay, so yeah, but definitely show more than just finished pieces, I think. Or what you could even do, I've seen some do it, they'll do a carousel and they'll have the finished piece as the first one. So that's the one on the actual feed when you're scrolling. But then when you flick sideways, you see like the ugly stages of work in progress. But I do believe ones where your hand's in it, they make a really nice cover photo. And the same with reels. Choose a good cover. Like it'll ask you when you create a reel, change the cover. So you want to change the cover whether it's part of the reel or whether you upload another photo that's associated to the reel. So that way on your actual page, like you scroll, it still looks really nice. Okay, so that's how I think I would tackle Instagram. Facebook, I just put stuff on whenever. But I really like stories on Instagram, which I think go into Facebook as well. So you could just do it on the one and it goes into the other. But stories is where people see the behind the scenes more of you, which is what I think I was saying before about the flow and the stock or whatever. So the flow would be stories and the stock would be your main page. So, all right. I think that was it for the stories. Okay, then another chapter is teach what you know. So teach people what you already know. So share your trade secrets. Okay, this helps you to expand on what you already know. You're learning more about what you teach. I know myself, my work has improved so much since I started teaching because I'm putting into practice the steps to create the art, like learning the fundamentals, all of that stuff. I think if I wasn't teaching all about the fundamentals, which I put into my membership because I feel it's something I missed out on, and it was, in high school that we did it, or primary school, high school. So I don't remember that far back. And I never went to uni. So I felt like I was learning the art, but I wanted to know the basics of art, like the elements of art, the line, the form, the shapes, all of that to help become a better artist, to know why it works, like why values work, that sort of thing. And by creating lessons to teach my students, I'm learning at the same time as well. So and also don't feel like you can't share your process as well, because I sell, like, my main business is my Creative Barn membership, where I want people to come into the membership and learn from me, my tutorials. But I still share free stuff. I still share tips, because I think, if people, they get to know your teaching style, and if they can relate to it, then it's great, and they start following, and eventually they might want more, and do more art, and they might want more tutorials that way, and then eventually they might join. And you could also share, it could just start with a blog post, say if you're a writer maybe, or like we said, social media posts. Emails is another way to share and build an audience as well. So teaching what you've learned is how you cement your own knowledge, and you help someone else climb the ladder as well. So you don't need to be the expert to teach. You just need to be one step ahead of someone else, of who you're teaching. So this is kind of also how this art chat exists. So I learn something and then I share it. And then I learn something else and I share it. So I just repeat the process. So that's where I come up with ideas, because something's crossed my path, or I've read someone's blog and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Like that might be interesting to learn more about and to share in the chat. Okay. Yes, Farley, that's another point. I give credit where credit is due. Definitely, if you are, taking ideas from something like this and you're sharing it, make sure you let people know that it's from, like Austin Kleon in my case, or if there's something else that someone else has done, make sure you sort of mention that you got that idea from this person as well. Let me just read the comments here. Farley says he only has finished pics. Yeah, well maybe Farley start using your stories to show the behind the scenes. If it's Instagram. I think Facebook does stories as well. Like I said, I do a story on Instagram and I think it goes straight to Facebook too. Di, if only I had more hands like an octopus. My photography is challenging as best, let alone using my non-dominant hand to photograph my drawing hand. I don't have my camera, my phone with me. I've left it upstairs. But I have this little thing, it's stuck on the back and it pops out and you can just slide your fingers up into it. Oh, the circle sits there, so you just slide your fingers around it. So you can sort of hold your camera out without like having to hold the camera. So it's just these two fingers are holding it, and then I can use my thumb to press the button. So yeah, there's ways. So all right. So another post in here. We're getting there. Like I said, I'm not going to do every single one, but we're getting there. Don't turn into human spam. So we've all met that person online who only posts when they want to sell you something. Okay, don't do that. The idea is building that audience, and then you can then sell. Although if you've done a great job of building the audience, then it's an easier sell because they're keen to support you. So Kleon reminds us to be people first, share generously, be part of the community, leave thoughtful comments and celebrate others. Then when, like I said, you do sell something, it lands so much better because people already trust you. And a lot of people want to support you as well. So, and if they've seen the progress of a painting, they can see how much work you've put into it. When I'm ready for, I will charge $50 for that hand device. It's just that you don't need to buy an Apple one. It's just a little round circle. It's a pop. It's pop something. I think they just got some double-sided tape. I wish I had my phone down here, and it just sticks on, and they pop out. They pull out, and you can push them back flat again. You can get them from any cheap shop, $2 store, Kmart. Any of those would have them, I would say. I think I got mine from JB Hi-Fi. Mine's a really pretty one, and I think it cost me $20 because it was a really pretty one. So, but yeah, you don't need an Apple one for sure. All right, and then stick around. So longevity matters more than going viral. Just keep showing up, warts and all, that sort of thing. And honestly, this is where, us older artists, we shine because we've lived stuff, you've learnt stuff, you've grown, your story is richer, deeper, and more inspiring than you realise. So, I'm just going to share. There's another couple of things I want to read in here about learn to take a punch as well. That's one of the other things he talks about, because of course when you're sharing, when you put your work out into the world, you have to be ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly. The more people come across your work, the more criticism you'll face. Okay, and it goes into here's how to take the punches, and there's this little drawing here about relax and breathe, strengthen your work, roll with the punches, protect your vulnerable areas, and keep your balance. So it goes into a bit more detail about that, because you do open yourself up to criticism and critique, but you just have to ignore. Some people have nothing better to do than be a true troll and be keyboard warriors, and it says more. I feel it says more about them, and they're not happy with their own life if they try to bring you down over petty things that, just ignore them. There's the great old block feature on Facebook and social media. You just block them and move on. But I know it is really hard, because you're your own worst critic, and someone might hit a nerve and it can bring you down, but you've got to think, where is that coming from? Is it someone who's supporting me, who's is really keen to help me improve? Because if that's the case, then their critique might be warranted. But if it's some stranger that is just trying to bring you down because their life sucks, then they're the ones, just ignore and block, okay? And if you surround yourself with a supportive community, then they sort of help you get through that stuff anyway. All right, and then we also, good old time management, of course, is, I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, no, Farley, mine isn't a magnet. And yeah, Rebecca said that phone socket stand on Temu is like $2 or $3. Yeah, you can get all different prices on those little phone holder ones. Anyway, okay. So time management, of course. Don't say you don't have enough time. We're all busy, but we all get 24 hours a day. People often ask me, how do you find the time for all this? And I answer, I look for it. You find time the same place you find spare change, in the nooks and crannies. You find it in the cracks between the big stuff. Your commute, your lunch break, the few hours after your kids go to bed. You might have to miss an episode of your favourite TV show. You might have to miss an hour of sleep. But you can find the time if you look for it. I like to work while the world is sleeping and share while the world is at work. Okay, which I thought that was a very good reminder as well. We all have the same amount of time in the day. So, yeah, we can find time. I know I get sidetracked sometimes. I try not to get on Netflix or anything like that, because I'll get hooked up in a show and then I'll want to binge watch it, of course. And I know then I feel guilty the next day. I try and reserve Sundays for that, because the Sundays is like a day off. But I do feel like, what a waste of time that was. But you do need that downtime, of course, as well. You can't just work all the time. All right, so this book, Show Your Work, is basically your permission to stop hiding. You don't have to be finished. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be visible. So people don't fall in love with artists who wait until the end. They fall in love with the ones who let them come along for the ride. And another great artist, she's a wildlife artist who does this really well, is Carla Grace. She's an Australian. She works in acrylic and oils, and she paints the most beautiful wildlife art. And she has a lot of followers, but it's because she shares. On her stories, she shares so much. So she'd be a good one to see how she's running her Instagram. And she really shares the process. She loves her dog. She's got a couple of little kids. She everything about it. She's very genuine and realistic, and her personality by just watching her stories. Okay, and then she started she's got I can't even remember how many followers, like hundreds of thousands of followers, and she's just started a online membership, I think. And because she's been sharing so much over the years, this is the first teaching thing she's really done. And instantly she has got a lot of people joined her membership, because they know her, they trust her because she's spent all this time doing that. And like she says, her social media is part of our business as artists. So a lot of us, me included, like go, oh God, I hate social media. I hate having to post all the time. But she said you've got to flip that and look at it as part of your business, as doing your painting or as coming up with ideas. Your social media is part of the business. It's just like doing the accounting. It's something you should try and enjoy doing, and spend a certain amount of time every day. So put aside, you might set aside half an hour each day to do your accounting or something, but set aside an hour every day to do your social media. So look at it that way. Because yeah, it can be really hard. I struggle with it. And then if you're thinking, but what if people judge me? Well, they might, but the right people will cheer you on loudly, so it won't matter. As Kleon says, make stuff you love and talk about stuff you love, and you'll attract people who love that kind of stuff. It's that simple. All right, so that is it for today's chat. If you haven't already got this little book, I would recommend go and get it. And if you haven't read He's Still Like an Artist, go and get that one as well. And then there is this one, Keep Going, which I haven't read this one yet, but I will do a review on it once I get around to it. So I think you can buy all three as a little bundle, which might be a cheaper way to get it. Also, before we go, I just wanted to mention, I know a lot of you guys watching here on the live are probably already in the Creative Barn, but for those watching the replay or who aren't in the Creative Barn yet, for Black Friday sale is coming up. It's the 28th of November. But just like everyone else seems to do, I'm already going to start my Black Friday sale now. So it is for people new to the Creative Barn. I'm offering a 14-day free trial of the Creative Barn Essentials tier. Okay, so that's the tier with all the tutorials. There's no live sessions in that tier, but it's a great way to get started and to go in and see if you like my teaching style, if you find out you love pastels, but all the fundamental lessons, everything are in there as well. Okay, and there is a link in this post or in this chat somewhere to go and check that out. All right, what's Farley got? Have a great day, ladies. Always pleasant chatting with you. You're producing great work. Cheers from your biggest supporter. And you're happy you're committed to 2 days a week teaching. It keeps you on track in your drawing journey. And yeah, Farley, you'll find the more you teach, you'll see a lot of improvement even in your own work. So yeah, so good on you for giving that a go. All right, guys, sorry I was so late. Hopefully I can figure out why my Chrome won't let me do live sessions anymore, but at least I know how to fix it and just go into a different browser. So all right, enjoy your day, and hopefully you'll get something creative done this week. And if you do, and you've already got some social media, take a photo of it, your work in progress, and make sure you share it for everyone to see. All right, I will talk to you all next week. Bye.